So, Drew, I want to talk about restricted stock units next, or commonly referred to as RSUs. So why don't you unpack that a little bit for everybody watching?
Yeah, great topic. Very common with a lot of clients that we work with, working through restricted stock units or RSUs. So what is an RSU? An RSU is awarded to a employee. It's a stock-based form of compensation. Just as the name states, it's restricted for a period of time with a vesting schedule. So that vesting schedule can vary based on the company and the document allowed there. But once that vests, then you have the opportunity to sell those shares or hold those shares. One of the things that we look at with clients is, and we often talk through with these restricted stock units, is what does the taxation look like? When an RSU does vest, it's taxed at ordinary income, and they will typically, and we see this more often than not, will withhold and sell the withholding to cover that because the IRS wants to make sure they're paid. We also want to see a client with a huge tax bill that they were unprepared for. So we do have to, with one caveat, look at how much are they withholding, how much are they selling to cover that. It may or may not be enough. So that's something to be aware of. But once that transaction is completed, then you have the flexibility to sell, which moves it into a capital gains territory. So again, these are used very commonly to attract new employees. You may be a new employee to an organization. You came across this video because you were researching what is a RSU or a restricted stock unit, and we'd happy to have a conversation with you about that. But they're different than stocks and warrants. They do have some value to them on the underlying, but again, that value really comes into play once it's vested because it is tied to the stock itself. And there are some things where they will vest quicker than that schedule. If a company, let's say, is bought out, we see this a lot with tech companies, where you go to work for a brand new technology, maybe not startup, but a company that is pretty well established, but then they get acquired, and those shares become vested right away for you to execute upon. So restricted stock units are very common. If this is something that you have questions about, I know, Dave, we talked to a lot of clients about this, and we'd love to chat with you about it as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Drew. And one other piece just to add to RSUs to be mindful of is when they do vest, you'll want to make sure what withholding rate your employer has set up with the custodian of that RSU to make sure that they're doing enough withholding. We've seen that sort of surprise people sometimes where they haven't withheld enough, and then come tax time, they get a rather large tax bill. So that was great, Drew. Thank you. If you're watching this and you want to understand this a little bit further, hop on our website at instrumentalwealth.com, schedule some time with one of our advisors. We'd love to have a deeper conversation with you around this if this is of interest.